Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Yaah magazine, issue number 14. This is from June 2020. This is a magazine published by Mark Walker. He sent me over a copy to check out, and I really appreciate that, Mark. Thank you very much for doing so. Wanted to share a look inside with you guys because I want to get Rattenkrieg, the game that comes inside this, on the table. It is a solo Stalingrad game. So yeah, totally my jam, and I'm excited to get this one on the table. We'll take a look at the game next, but first we'll take a look through the magazine to see what's inside when you get issue number 14 of Yaah magazine. And we'll take a look inside the magazine. It is a 74-page full-color magazine. Have the Ezok Editor to Zone of Control, an article by Mark Walker. Then we have the table of contents and scenarios. The scenarios in this game, remember, the Yaah magazine is a support magazine essentially for Flying Pig and Tiny Battles games. So you're going to get all the scenarios for games from Tiny Battle and Flying Pig. The Devils to Pay, Armageddon War, Old School Tactical Volume 2, and 65, the Vietnam game that is published by Flying Pig. And then we have Rattenkrieg, which is the solitaire man-to-man game. It comes in on page 60. And then we have Blue Water Navy article here. Devils to Pay, the First Day at Gettysburg. That is a game published by Tiny Battle Publishing and designed by Herman Luttman. There will be some alternative counters on the counter sheet, which we'll take a look at shortly, and the scenario here at the back of the book. Red Storm, the Cold War gets some hot air. Freedom, the Underground Railroad. Welcome to the Jungle, Old School Tactical Volume 3. You'll now be fighting in the Solomon Islands, Tulagi, and Guadalcanal, to name just a few new locations. So pretty cool if you've been paying attention to the Old School Tactical series, Volume 1, 2, and 3. Volume 1 was on the East Front, 2 is West Front, and now 3 is in the Pacific dealing with the Marines. Hoorah. Then we have Long Cruel Woman, the Assault on Firebase Mary. This is a game I've actually been curious about. I'm looking forward to reading about that because I've considered purchasing that on a couple times and I haven't done it yet. U-Boat, the board game, which is a pretty amazing and unique game in its own right. Interceptor Ace. Radiation Dust, another one that I'm curious to know more about before getting a hold of. March to the Sound of the Guns, which is the alternate scenario for Devils to Pay. Violent Peacekeeping, a scenario for Armageddon War. Hell on Wheels, historical scenario for Old School Tactical Volume 2. And Fire Support Base Mary Ann, a solitaire scenario for 65 squad battles in the jungles of Vietnam. So you got a good assortment of different scenarios here if you have these games in your library. And if you don't, you should go check them out and grab a copy. And we have The Greatest Fear, which is a fiction piece written by Mark Walker. And that goes for several pages. And if you like horror, you're going to like Mark's stuff. He has a unique way of blending real world and horror pretty nicely. And we get to the rules for Rattenkrieg, so let's take a look at the components first, and then we'll come back to the rules for the game. And we'll take a look at the counter sheet that comes with the magazine. Underneath, I have a piece of cardstock right now. That's because a couple of these counters have already fallen out, and I've got a couple more that are threatening to. This counter sheet is really well die cut, so when you get this magazine in, be very careful when you're taking it out to ensure that you've not lost any of the counters, because like I said, these will just fall right out of the tree. On the right-hand side, we have counters for Devils to Pay, and a couple of those have already fallen out. On the left-hand side, you see the one has already fallen out here for Rattenkrieg. These are units for Rattenkrieg. We have Germans here, Soviets here, and we've got different administrative counters that'll be used for different things throughout the game. Remember, this is a solitaire-only game, so you'll have these hidden event markers that you'll be using to drive the game forward during action. And we have two different AI bots, AI Bot A and AI Bot D. And we'll take a look at the maps that come with the game. We get 2 sheets of maps, 4 maps in total, A, B, C, and D. And it says here, cut carefully along the black lines. Pretty simple, rectangular shapes, easy to cut out, even for a klutz like me with scissors. It won't be hard to do. And these are geomorphic, so you'll be setting these maps up as dictated by the scenarios. And if there are any other user-created scenarios over time, you'll be able to make a whole bunch of different possibilities with these maps. And we'll take a look inside the rules. It is a 13-page rulebook. This is a game designed by Gotardo Zancani, and if you've played any of his other games, you're going to think this is probably the same way. This is not like Rifles in the Ardennes, Rifles in the Pacific. This is its own animal. I initially thought that as well. Mark had corrected me on that. So I just wanted to make that one note here before we take a look at the rules. Start off our components, abbreviations, and conventions. And then we get into the different types of buildings, zones in the map, and then sequence of play starts here on 61. 62, we get into the scenario selection, scenario setup, mission phase, player activation, how that's handled, movement, and there is even sewer movement in this game depending on the scenario. As you may have noticed on the counter sheet, that little sewer movement icon. And we get movement in the open, spotting, hide, fire, rally, morale check, enemy activation, the activation procedure, bot instructions. You saw the flow chart that is on the bots, so it tells you how to read that from here. And then you have fire combat, attack procedure, explosive damage, out of ammo, close combat, advanced rules. There are even advanced rules in it here. You can have multi-level buildings, adjacent buildings, special movement, heavy machine gun, suppression fire, cover fire, crossfire, sewer movement, which I just mentioned. And then we have night combat rules as well as command. Then we have the Pioneer Squad for Germany, Rifle Squad for the USSR, the battle events for Rattenkrieg, just roll a d6. And then we have the scenarios for the game here. City Patrol, Ammo Depot, Rattenkrieg, Sniper, Fire Corridor, and Tractor Works. So 6 total scenarios for this game that comes in the magazine. Pretty fantastic. And then we have Blitzkrieg Myths Exposed as the last article, an ad for La Resistance, and then the tables for the game on the back of the magazine. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Yaah magazine, issue number 14 from June 2020, featuring the game Rattenkrieg, a game designed by Gottardo Zancani and published by Mark Walker. You can see a lot of great articles inside. You've got several scenarios. If you have Flying Pig or Tiny Battle games, you can definitely extend the play out here with the scenarios in this magazine. Great little looking scenario game. This really has me excited because it's Stalingrad, it's solo. I'm really interested in checking this out. Gottardo's a great designer, so it's going to be really fun to see his take on Stalingrad. I apologize for my voice. I've been dealing with really bad allergies the past couple days, and I don't know where they're coming from. It's July in Texas, so I shouldn't be too bad, but my throat's been a little rough, and I apologize for that. Well, I hope this helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.